The escalating military exchanges of 2025 and 2026 between the United States, Israel, and Iran are sending violent shockwaves across the Middle East. Missiles and airstrikes are currently dismantling local infrastructure and erasing years of fragile political stability. Citizens worldwide are reacting to the immediate threat of a wider conflict. Domestic protests in major capitals show a public growing increasingly wary of the human and economic costs of this regional reordering. This instability is often blamed on the long-standing rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Media analysis frequently attributes the violence to an unbroken 1,400-year-old religious war between Sunni and Shia Muslims. This focus on ancient theology overlooks the reality of modern statecraft. Riyadh and Tehran are engaged in a struggle for regional survival that weaponizes religious identity to achieve specific political ends. To understand the actual structural fault lines of the region, we have to look past the religious texts and examine the geopolitical survival tactics of today. The original 7th century schism centered on the succession of Prophet Muhammad. The community split between those who supported the election of Abu Bakr and those who believed leadership belonged to the Prophet's family, specifically his son-in-law, Ali. These factions eventually formalized into distinct schools of Islamic jurisprudence. Sunnis developed the Hanafi and Maliki traditions, while Shias followed the Ithna Ashari, or Twelver, tradition. For most of history, these differences functioned as a personal and legal reality. They did not dictate a mandatory state of total warfare between neighboring governments. The true shift occurred in 1979. The Iranian Revolution replaced a secular monarchy with a revolutionary Shia theocracy, creating a new and aggressive regional actor. This new government utilized constructivism, the deliberate shaping of religious identity, to directly challenge the Saudi monarchy's claim as the leader of the Islamic world. The events of 1979 transformed a historical theological difference into a mechanism for regime survival and a race for regional control. The 2003 Iraq War removed a critical geographic buffer between Saudi Arabia and Iran. The sudden collapse of the Iraqi state created a massive geopolitical power vacuum in the center of the Arab world. This created the Shia Crescent, a territorial corridor from Iran through Iraq and Syria to Lebanon. Tehran funded proxy militias across this arc to project influence. Saudi Arabia responded by funding Sunni factions to block Iranian encirclement, turning the region into clashing zones of influence. The 2011 Arab Spring accelerated this struggle. As civilian uprisings shattered state structures across the region, Riyadh and Tehran found new power vacuums to exploit. Yemen became the most devastating example of this strategy. A local rebellion over resources was quickly absorbed into the wider Saudi-Iranian battle for supremacy. Both capitals used local sectarian identity as a tool to expand their borders. By funding these local proxies, Riyadh and Tehran could wage a regional war without ever engaging in a formal, direct conflict. In 2023, the regional architecture shifted again when Saudi Arabia and Iran restored formal ties in a deal brokered by China. This diplomatic pivot followed the U.S. withdrawal from the JCPOA nuclear agreement. The resulting loss of a clear security framework forced both regional powers to seek new, pragmatically driven alliances. This reconciliation reflects the principles of neorealism, where states prioritize survival over ideology. Both Riyadh and Tehran recognized the rising costs of their proxy wars and the reality of a diminishing American military presence in the Gulf. The 2026 conflict involving the U.S., Israel, and Iran is now testing the limits of this fragile rapprochement. These military escalations threaten to dismantle the temporary security order established just years prior. Riyadh and Tehran employ sectarianism as a specific geopolitical tool. Treating this conflict as a theological relic ignores the modern power structures and survival strategies that actually drive the violence.